Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Greetings, Algo artisans. Nick here, and it is Tuesday, the 27th of January, and it's just before the market close at 4:51 p.m. EST. Wild couple of days, and I know it's a day later than usual to get this report out to you, but it's almost better that that is the case. We had a wild couple of days, and we have some more data coming out tomorrow very early. Before we get into all of that, please take a look in the description. I've got a free algo in there. There's a video that shows you how I make it very quickly, how I turn it into code using Grok, and how traders connect their algos to their brokerage so it can trade while they are not sitting at the computer. They might be golfing, sleeping, whatever. Doesn't matter what you're doing, it can trade for you while you're not there. You just have to optimize the algo for your own trading before you plug it in, right? It's not plug and play. Make sure you optimize. Long story short, it's there for you. Click that link in the description. All right, we're going to take a look today at the NASDAQ, USDJPY, EURUSD, Bitcoin, GBPJPY, gold, and silver. Before we do that, we're going to take a look at the data that's coming out this week over at forexfactory.com, and it is a big week for data. Okay, 7:30 p.m. EST is the Australian CPI, their inflation data, so that's going to have quite an effect on their currency, which is very bullish right now. I haven't been tracking it on the charts, but even more so bullish than a lot of other currencies with the exception of maybe the Japanese yen, and that has to do with Australia's relation to gold. Wednesday, tomorrow, is a big day at 9:45 a.m. EST. We have the Bank of Canada Monetary Policy Report, bank statement, overnight rate, all that stuff. And then we have 10:30 a.m. EST, the Bank of Canada press conference. So if you are trading the CAD or anything Canada related, that can have quite an effect on the charts. We also have the FOMC, the US version of that, perhaps the biggest central bank rate decision in the world. And that happens at 2 p.m. EST. Right, so any kind of trading tomorrow is going to be tricky until all of that is done, including the press conference that happens at 2:30 p.m. EST. Thursday, we have the usual 8:30 a.m. EST unemployment claims for the U.S., adding a little volatility to the market. Friday looks like it's going to have some pretty big data. We have the GDP for Canada month over month at 8:30 a.m. EST, and at the same time, the PPI month over month for the dollar. So not sure why they have PPI here. Maybe they're going to do CPI next week. I know a lot of the data kind of got staggered a little bit after the shutdown. And I know there's a looming shutdown happening right now, which I think might have pushed some of the charts around in the last few minutes, actually. It has been a wild day, so let's go ahead and jump in the charts so we can see just how wild that day was. And we're going to start with the NASDAQ. NASDAQ looking pretty strong. If I back up here, the all-time high was back in November, and that was at 26,399. And at this time, that is the upper bound. That is the next level up where price may go. Now, tomorrow is the FOMC at 2 p.m. EST, and anything can happen there. So as a matter of fact, these possible diversions should be right there, as the FOMC could send things up, down. Doesn't really matter at this time. Everybody's going to have their guess. If I had to guess about the FOMC, I'll just throw this in here now. They're either going to cut rates or hold them steady. And I think they may hold them steady because right now the dollar has gotten very weak. And to cut rates would mean they're going to make it get weaker. It's either that or the rate cutting is priced in. That's why we saw the dollar get weak in the last few days. We'll get more into that later. For now, I think what we're going to see is the NASDAQ continue to head up, even perhaps at a steeper rate than what I just drew. And then as of FOMC, provided that this is not anything terribly unpredictable or exciting, I expect to see all-time highs possibly by the end of the week. It could happen, might happen next week. Just understand that that upper bound is 26,401. Now, if for whatever reason the FOMC pushed price down, some of the lower levels I look at for price to bounce would be sitting at 25,851. And if it really dumped hard, and I doubt that it will, 25,420 down to 25,259. Those are some areas where price might go, but these are not what I expect to see. Let's move on to USDJPY, probably the most exciting chart and meaningful chart in the world right now. Now, this is extremely bearish. We've not seen a move like this in a very long time. If I zoom out, you're going to have to look back really far to see a move like this happen in such a short time. And this has to do with the Bank of Japan dissolving their parliament. This would be similar to like the US dissolving its Congress, although it's a different structure than the US. There is precedent for this, but it is extremely uncommon. The policy for the Bank of Japan for a long time has been to print cheap Japanese bonds, sell it to the world, use it to buy assets, and then the Japanese debt which effectively turns into Japanese yen, that money itself, that debt, is what's used to prop up the world markets. This is an indication that at the time their parliament was dissolved, they may stop that policy and the Japanese yen may actually be protected. They might hike their rates, and the market is reacting as such. And at the same time, the dollar got very weak. So I think the assumption might be that a reaction is to use the dollar to replace some of that liquidity of the Japanese yen to keep things going. That seems to be why this chart is dumping in a very crazy way. So what might it do? Hard to say with FOMC coming, but we do have a level here, 150.93, where price may or may not bounce. If it bounces, it'll probably go sideways until it continues down eventually. If it drops down, there is a pretty good place for price to bounce right at 149.43 due to some older price action and a very big range of liquidity. Let's move on to the euro, EURUSD. This one also reflecting the dollar's weakness as the euro goes up against the dollar. I made a fair amount of money on this move today, and I actually made that money so that Algo Factory could see me do it, which means that if their research looked like mine, they could join in on the trade, right? I do think this will continue up, and it might even surpass my expectations. This was such a monster move up. I do expect it to go sideways until at least the FOMC as things calm down. Such a big move up. Usually there is profit taking, maybe a little bit of panic. It's hard to say. That's what I expect. I could be wrong. It could go up, but I think it'll relax until FOMC. And then if the FOMC is a rate cut, it'll probably go up again. Even if it's not, it's probably going to go sideways and up. This is a very bullish chart. A lot of people are panicking into their own currencies. The Europeans are no different, and possibly the penultimate example of countries or blocks doing such a thing. So I think this will continue up. Your upper bound is this high right here at 120.83, today's high. There is a much older high at 123.46. I don't think we will see that this week, but this trajectory tells us we could. I just don't think we will. We'll see. We got Bitcoin. Not very exciting. Bitcoin, I think, is done with its 4-year cycle. There was an attempt to come back up to 100,000. That was roundly and nastily rejected last week, and we're now down in the 86 to 90 range. I predicted all of this. I told Algo Factory way ahead of time that I thought this was going to happen. I called it play by play. Anybody who was in there was able to follow what I was talking about, and my predictions were gosh darn correct. And so here we are now. I expect price to continue down. There will be the occasional pop up to grab liquidity, but in the end, I think we're done with the 4-year cycle on this, unless another 2021 situation happens, and that's a very unique thing. But for the moment, I think we see sideways and down, at least for this week. That's what I expect. And the lower range, the lower bound is 86,150. And if it breaks below that, we're looking at about 83,500. Let's take a look at GBPJPY. British pound, Japanese yen. British pound's a bit more bullish than the dollar, although the Japanese yen seems to be a bit more bullish than both. So I think this will grind sideways and down. We do have the 209.59 yen level where it continues to bounce. So we will see if this pair can get below that. That's the lower bound at this time. If it gets below that, I think it's just going to grind down. Your upper bound is at 214.84. Let's take a look at gold. Gold and silver are the same as the last 2 weeks, just an upward trajectory. This thing could go anywhere, all the way up to 6,000. It really depends on what happens with FOMC. I don't think we're going to see a move that high. Generally, these things do have to cool off, but I thought after Monday, when everything ran up really hard, it would cool off, and it has not cooled off. So even though there should be a cool off period, there is not one happening, and that's an indication of geopolitical instability, probably having to do with Donald Trump floating boats over to Iran and possibly an attack over there. It could have to do with Minnesota. It could have to do with anything because the world is absolutely bat poop crazy right now, and that's why we're seeing this move up. It is what it is, and I think this will continue. I think 6,000 is a nice higher bound. It's a round number to look at, so it's 5,500, but I would just be buying pullbacks on this. It's the end of it. And silver is the same, at least in my opinion. I think price will just continue up. You got round number bingo. The high right now was from yesterday, 117. Price went from 117 all the way down to 102. Big move. It moved up 20 some odd percent a day, down almost 20% a day, and right back up to 112. Now price might go sideways for a minute, so it could end up just a little bit higher at the end of the week or a lot higher at the end of the week. And where it goes, nobody knows. This is just the way of it. I could do a Fibonacci extension on this one where you see price getting to 126 and 135 as decent targets. That I can do for you as far as targets for upside on silver for the traders out there. What we are very good at doing at Algo Factory is predicting where price is going to go, when it's going to get there. And when you have that kind of information, you can extract money out of the market on a very regular basis. Algo Factory watched me today have a 440% gain on my Euro trade, right? These are the things that we can do when we have these tools. So we teach people how to do that. We teach you how to build your own algo system. And I know you'd rather just use somebody else's, but the reality is I could give you my system and you would screw it up because you don't know what you're doing. There's more to it than knowing what buttons to push and when. There's a lot more to it. So if you come to Algo Factory, we will teach you how we do that. And I give you a preview. If you look at the description, there is a link in there. You can click that link. You can take a look at a video where I build a very simple algorithm. Even though it's tradable and conceivably profitable, I build it for you. I show you how it's done from scratch, which is a lot easier than you think. I show you how to turn it into code using Grok. I show you the tools that traders use to connect that to their brokerage so they can actually have the computer trade while they're not sitting at the computer, which is awesome. And I show you how to do all that stuff. And once you have optimized that algo, you could even conceivably do it with that algo that I provided for free. Click on that link. Let me know what you think. If you have any requests, you want to see certain charts that I don't normally do, put those requests in the comment section over here on YouTube, and I'll gladly take a look at those charts. Thank you all for watching. Remember, we do this live for 10 minutes, 3 days a week. We do it for an hour for the Algo Factory customers and clients, but for 10 minutes, we do it live just for everybody to see for free. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8:30 a.m. EST, bright and early. See you there. Thank you for watching. Bye now.